fiction has especially been oriented towards the future and imagining some possible futures in relation with technological change. However, in some of your best-known novels, there's a kind of archaeological technology, a technology superior to the present but that comes from the past instead of awaiting for the future. And we sort of see this in Draconium and the Kapakuchi trilogies. Where does this concern for archaeological technology come from for you? And what sort of weird intersection is happening there between the past and the future?
Everything is heritage, whether you want it to be or not. And if you're of a certain political bent, you don't want it to be heritage, but it is. Everything is heritage. Everything began in the past. Some of it is still there. In Britain, we're obsessed with heritage, and not in a good way. I think we want the past back. At the same time, the archaeological impulse to me is utterly fascinating. And again, I ask myself, during the New Worlds period, what would an archaeology of the future look like? And I know several writers like Alistair Reynolds, for instance, have also asked themselves the same question in science fiction. What would the archaeological impulse produce? And what better way is there of suggesting that you're in a real future than to give it an archaeological impulse, i.e. its own past? That just fascinated me. I don't know anything much about archaeology, but the impulse itself is, I think, extremely strong. So to a degree it's that. I think it does validate a future if you give it a past, and that's what you're there for. To a degree, you have to authenticate the future that you produce on behalf of the reader, and so that's a way of doing it. But also I really love that idea of the discovery of particularly of a technology which, although it's in the past, is somehow superior to the one that exists in the present. As a little boy, when I read science fiction, that's what I liked, you know. So it's that mixture of motives.
Sometimes we find that regarding this sort of archaeological technology, the characters in the novels have a rather pragmatic relationship towards it. Like they just know how to use it, but perhaps they don't even understand it deeply. Yep. And this appeals to us or poses questions for us as third world readers of your work, as reading in the Global South, because it relates to the way we receive technology that was sometimes created or engineered in the Global North, and sometimes we have this same sort of pragmatic relationship to it, and sometimes you also feel like the Global South has a different relationship with technology and with technical progress in general. Have you ever thought about this regarding your work? Like there could be Global South kind of reading, like for Bricolage or for the Kapakuchi trilogy.
I've never thought of that directly, but in the Kapakuchi track stories particularly, the world that is being imagined, the universe that is being imagined in those stories contains that element, yeah? Because all the different civilizations are at different levels, and they are using one another's technologies, and they're bricolaging new technologies out of old ones, new uses, and in the last 10 years it's come to me exactly what you've just said. I begin to be aware of that, but I haven't yet asked myself direct questions about it. It's not quite what I would do. To me, that's a very science fictional way of starting, is to say, what do I think about this technology, or how people use this technology. For me, I'm always looking for the human. The thing is, I think we all use technology that way, basically. I don't know how my car works anymore.
Right.
And that, as for that thing, it's a brick, you know. Yeah, take it to pieces, you know. Let me see you do that. To a degree, we're all like that. We're all bricolaging new uses out of things which we're handed almost on a plate by technology and by corporates and so on and so forth. So to a degree, we all live in that relationship with it. But on the other hand, I also think it's producing some very good and very interesting thought and science fiction from places like this, to be honest. I think that we're learning, that science fiction writers certainly are learning from Africa, they're learning from the global south, and what they're learning is the energy of exploration, of the astonishing energy of imagination, and bricolage is where that's where it all starts. We make things out of things. Most of us aren't designers. We're not designers of technological products. We're just users. But in use, by use, we make new things. We're like people who modify motor cars to go faster, you know? That's what we all do.
Do you feel that you have a similar relationship to literature?
Absolutely. I mean, the gift you're given when you start is that. It's exactly that. For me, the new wave was permission to do that. I've got a manifesto from when I was like 19, which is like, it's embarrassing to read now, but it basically says, you know, juxtapose, bricolage, bolt this onto that. You know, do you know Tom Waits? Mm-hmm. You know the track, What's He Building in There? What's he building in there? You know? It's about a guy in a basement who's being heard from next door, and they don't know what he's doing, you know, and it's a list of the possibilities which get weirder and weirder and weirder as the song goes on. For me, that's what writing is about. It's totally about that. In the end, if you're not careful, it would just become that. You mustn't allow it to just become that, because that would be a waste of the political possibilities of writing. But the temptation is very great. It's just to bricolage.